In last lecture, we have studied about cell and its various types, prokaryotic cell, eukaryotic cell, and then shape, size and structure of the cell. Now we will study the next topic of our biology in 9th class, that is movement of substances across the cell. Means here we want to study how the substances move in and out of the cell. There are two ways for movement across the cell. One of them is called as diffusion, another one is osmosis. Let us first define diffusion. Movement of substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration is called as diffusion. We are very well aware that if an incense stick is lit in a room, its fragrance spreads in complete room, even in surrounding. Similarly, if we put a drop of any of the colored substances or Dettol in a bucket of water, we find that it diffuses in complete water. Thus, diffusion is simply the movement of substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Generally, it occurs in solids, liquid and gases, and substances can easily diffuse from one cell to another cell. Then we come to second mode of across material in the cell, that is called as osmosis. Osmosis stands for movement of water molecules, I repeat, movement of solvent molecule from a region of higher concentration of solvent to a region of lower concentration of solvent across semi or selectively permeable membrane. Here selectively permeable membrane or semi-permeable membrane is extremely important, as this membrane is necessary for osmosis to occur. Moreover, in osmosis, the movement of solvent molecule, that is water molecule, takes place from higher solvent concentration to lower solvent concentration. So these are two ways of movement of substances across in the cells. Now we can differentiate between diffusion and osmosis. First point, we can write diffusion takes place in solid, liquid and gases, while osmosis occurs only in liquid medium. Then in case of diffusion, there is no need of selectively permeable membrane or semi-permeable membrane, but in case of osmosis it is required. Then in case of diffusion, it equalizes the concentration of substances through the available space, while in case of osmosis, it does not equalize the concentration of solvent on two sides of the membrane. And moreover, diffusion may take place in solid, liquid or gases, while osmosis generally occurs in case of solvent. Here solvent molecule move from a region of higher solvent concentration to a region of lower solvent concentration. Now, what is the importance of diffusion for plants and animals or inside the cells? First point is diffusion helps in spread of substances throughout cytoplasm of cell. Second, diffusion is simply helping for exchange of respiratory gases in plants and animals. The aroma of food and other substances which attract the insect for pollination is only through diffusion, and osmosis itself is a type of diffusion. Now, types of osmotic solution. On the basis of osmotic concentration, the solutions are of three types. Number one, hypotonic. Number two, hypertonic. And number three is isotonic. Let us discuss each term in detail. A solution is said to be hypotonic if its concentration is less than the concentration of given solution, or suppose we keep a cell in a hypotonic solution, then since the solution is hypotonic, therefore the water will enter into the cell and the cell will swell up. Once again, hypotonic solution is that solution in reference to cells whose concentration is less than concentration of given cell. Thus, if a cell is kept in hypotonic solution, the water will enter the cell and cell will swell up. This swelling up of cell is only due to movement of water from outside inside the cell. Such a process is also called as endosmosis. We also call this process as endosmosis, as water is entering inside the cell. Thus, hypotonic solution is that solution which, when separated from a standard given solution, gains water and its concentration is lesser in terms of solute than that of given solution. Then we come to hyper. Hyper means more. A solution whose concentration is more than the given solution, or we can say in terms of cell, a solution whose concentration is more than the concentration of given cell, such that if a cell is kept in hypertonic solution, it loses water and water comes out of the cell when cell is kept in a hypertonic solution, as a result of which the cell shrinks. This type of solution is called as hypertonic solution. I repeat, first, hypotonic solution. It is a dilute solution which has an osmotic concentration lower than that of another solution. Then we come to hypertonic solution. It is a concentrated solution which has an osmotic concentration higher than that of another solution. The third one is isotonic solution. This solution has an osmotic concentration similar to that of another solution. In other words, if we keep a cell in an isotonic solution, cell will neither gain water nor lose water, means its shape will remain as such, neither it will shrink nor it will swell up. Thus, we divide the solution into three types: hypotonic, hypertonic and isotonic. Isotonic means concentration is equal to the given solution. Hypertonic means the concentration of that solution is more than that of given solution. In hypertonic solution, cell will shrink. In isotonic, it will remain as such. Hypotonic means whose concentration is lesser than that of given cell or given solution, and hence in hypotonic solution the cell will swell up and it will gain water from surrounding. Now we come to next topic, that is active and passive transport in a cell. Transport inside the cell takes place in two ways. Number one is active transport and number two is passive transport. A transport in which energy is utilized in the form of ATP. You must be knowing the full form of ATP. It is adenosine triphosphate. If a cell utilizes energy for movement of substances across it, such a mode of transport is called as active transport. While in case of passive transport, it is simply occurring through the process of diffusion osmosis. Here no energy is utilized for transport of substances across the cell or across the cell membrane. Now we come to next topic, that is parts of a cell. Every cell has three parts in general. If we study about the general structure of a cell, we find that every cell has following three parts, its essential parts. Number one is outermost part, that is cell wall or cell membrane, cell wall and cell membrane. Second part is nucleus and third part is cytoplasm. Starting with outermost part, that is cell wall. Let me discuss about cell wall. Cell wall is the outermost structure of plant cell. It is exclusively present in plants only and absent in all animal cells. Cell wall is also present in plants and some fungi and bacteria. In different organisms, it is made up of different substances. In case of plants, the cell wall is made up of a carbohydrate called cellulose. In case of fungi, it is made up of chitin, and in case of bacteria, it is made up of mucopeptides or N-acetyl glucosamine. So cell wall is outermost thick covering of plant cell. If we observe the plant cell, we find the outermost thick dead simply cellulose covering in plants. This is called as cell wall. It is generally made up of cellulose and hemicellulose in case of plants. It forms boundary of plant cells and is thick in covering lignin, suberin, and hemicellulose is generally deposited over it. Now, what are the functions of cell wall? Cell wall, since present in plants, fungi, and bacteria, so it performs certain functions. Its first function is it provides shape to the cells. Second, it provides mechanical strength to the plant. Third, it protects the cell against pathogens and mechanical injury. And then fourth, growth of cell wall determines the growth of cell. Then we come to second part after cell is cell membrane. Cell membrane is thin, delicate, living part of the cell. It is outermost in animal cell, while in case of plant it is after cell wall. I repeat, cell membrane is thin, delicate, soft, living and made up of proteins and phospholipids. These are the components of cell membrane, which are named as proteins and phospholipids. The model which explains the cell membrane structure is called as fluid mosaic model, as this model can explain the fluidity of cell membrane, and hence it is called as fluid mosaic model, which suggests that cell membrane consists of integral proteins and tunnel proteins along with phospholipids bilayer in it. The cell membrane is a living component of all cells. It is essentially present in all living cells, whether it is a plant cell or it is a animal cell. If we talk about its functions, being living, it limits the entry and exit of various substances in and out of the cell, as it forms a semi-permeable or selectively permeable membrane for movement of substances in and out of the cell. Also, this membrane helps in taking food inside the cell through phagocytosis. Phagocytosis means just intake of the food material by unicellular organism. You must have studied in lower classes that when a food item comes in contact of amoeba, amoeba throws pseudopodia-like structure which encircle the food item and take the food item inside the cell. This part which helps in intake of food in the cell is the cell membrane of amoeba. Also, this cell membrane helps in movement in again amoeba by forming pseudopodia-like structure. This cell membrane of our small intestine also helps in absorption of food through small finger-like projections. These finger-like projections are called as villi in our small intestine, which help in absorption of digested food. Also, plasma membrane provides shape to the certain cells, and it is a mechanical barrier between cell and outside material. It helps in recognition of various substances over cell surface, and above all, it is helpful in process of osmosis. So the first structure of cell we have studied, cell wall and cell membrane. Cell wall is present in plants, fungi and bacteria, and their composition is different there. Cell membrane is living, soft, present in all living organisms, and is inner to cell wall in case of plants. Then we come to second part of the cell, that is called as nucleus. Nucleus is central part of the cell. It was discovered by Robert Brown in the year 1831. Nucleus is prominent structure in a eukaryotic cell. In case of animal cell, it is central in its position. It occupies central position, while in case of plant cell, it is a little bit shifted to a side due to presence of vacuoles in the plant cell. The nucleus has following parts. Its outermost covering is called as nuclear membrane or nuclear envelope. The second part of nucleus is a small structure which is not having any membrane around it. It is called nucleolus. This part is called as nucleolus. And third part is chromatin network present inside the cell. These are nothing, they are simply chromatin network form chromosomes later on. Chromatin network which forms chromosome. Chromosome contain genes, and genes are carrier of hereditary information from parent to offspring. And the liquid part of nucleus is called as nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm is the liquid component of the nucleus, and here and there pores are present in nuclear membrane. These are called as nuclear pores, which help in exchange of material between cytoplasm and nucleoplasm. Thus, nucleus is extremely important part of the cell. It was discovered by Robert Brown in 1831. All cells are having nucleus in them except the human mammalian RBCs at maturity. The mammalian RBCs do not have any nucleus in them. Nucleus occupies central position in animal cells, however shifted to a side in plant cell due to presence of a large central vacuole. If we discuss the structure of nucleus, nucleus is having outermost covering called nuclear membrane or nuclear envelope, then a central part called nucleolus, then a network of thread-like structure called as chromosomes or chromatin network, which contain genes, and genes are carrier of hereditary information from parent to offspring. And then there is nucleoplasm, which contains some protein and histone proteins. Here and there are pores called nuclear pore, which have been exchange of material between nucleus and cytoplasm. Now we come to the functions of nucleus in a cell. The nucleus, being an extremely important part of the cell, performs certain functions in the cell. These functions include, the first function of nucleus is it is a control center of cell. It controls all metabolic activities of the cell and hence is a control organ of the cell. Second function of nucleus is due to presence of this chromatin network, which contain chromosomes over which there are genes and DNA, which is carrier of hereditary information from parent to offspring. Nucleus is having genetic information in it, and nucleus controls the cell division. A well-defined nucleus is absent in case of prokaryotic cell. Then we come to third part of the cell, that is called as cytoplasm. The liquid component of cell is called as cytoplasm. It is generally semi-solid, or it is a colloidal substance which is having two forms, sol and gel form. That is why it is called as colloidal substance, which occupies complete remaining part of the cell is called as cytoplasm. Cytoplasm plus nucleus together called as protoplasm. If we take cytoplasm and nucleus together, we give them name as protoplasm. So name of the two components together forms protoplasm. If I talk about cytoplasm, cytoplasm contains large number of cell organelles embedded in here and there. These cell organelles are namely mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, ribosomes, lysosomes, and all other cell organelles are embedded in cytoplasm. We'll discuss these cell organelles in coming lecture, but here we will discuss the major function of cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a seat of various metabolic activities to occur inside the cell. This all part of the cell is simply called as cytoplasm, which is a seat for various metabolic activities to take place. Moreover, cytoplasm contains various cell organelles which perform different functions in a cell. We will discuss the function and structure of all these cell organelles in coming lectures. Thank you.